everyone, and welcome to the Women in AI panel. My name is Tamara Morosky, and I'm thrilled to be moderating this session today. So I have a diverse background in marketing and sales. I worked for a few marketing agencies, then I moved into tech. I had a client success and then sales teams, and now I serve as the Director of Partnerships for the Marketing AI Institute, which is an AI education and media company. I'm also part of the leadership team for the STEM Goes Red for Girls initiative through the American Heart Association. So I have this really unique blend of overseeing revenue from a high level standpoint, but that's also educating leaders like yourselves around AI. So before we dive into our discussion, I want to introduce our panelists. I'm super excited about this. So we have Jessica Ria. She's the head of marketing AI strategy and transformation at Jasper, which is a long-term partner of the Institute. Linda Lian, co-founder and CEO of Common Room, which, Linda, I watched the demo on your website and I was seriously blown away. So I'm really excited for you to share some of the use cases. Like, I feel like we need your tech. And then
excited to be here.
Yeah. And Pallavi Sharma, she's the founder and CEO of Wit Omni, an AI first digital marketing agency. Okay, so I'm so excited to hear from these women. We're going to jump into some use cases like we talked about and opportunities in AI, discuss maybe a couple experiences as being a woman in AI in this field, and then look ahead to future trends. So Jessica, I'd love for you to start if you can. What are some of the most impactful use cases, AI use cases that you've implemented with Jasper's clients that you've observed over either sales, marketing, some sort of revenue generation, and maybe share an example of a successful campaign?
Yeah, a lot to get in there. I will narrow it down though for a few today because I'm really excited to hear from these other panelists today too. So again, thank you for having me. Happy to be here. One of the things I love that we're doing at Jasper from a marketing perspective is we're using our own tech to discover our own use cases as well. So I'll share two because one is something that we started when I was at VMware, starting out our initial use case, and then it was part of our growth across enabling our entire global marketing team. It's this idea of the campaign bomb, right? The bill of materials. So whether you're using it to create derivative content or you're using it to create the promotional surround content from a hero asset, it takes a lot of work and usually it's farmed out to agencies. And so it takes a lot of time and money as well. So this is something that was a really early use case for us that we felt like if we could use AI to draft the promotional ad copy that we use in these, we could decrease time, get faster time to market, and decrease costs as well. And so it's something that has been refined within Jasper and within the team over the past year. And now actually they're seeing a projected $500,000 of savings in this one workflow alone. And they went from an average of 6 weeks in production time to 2 days. And they can get it all in one prompt at 95% quality. So when we're talking about impact on use cases, there's so much that you could do, but there's also so much impact you can have in just one workflow and really honing that in. The other one though, from a successful AI-driven revenue campaign is something that we're testing out from kind of an ABM perspective. So taking the idea of having personalized outreach, that really one-to-one email outreach. And instead of just emailing and requesting that they, the CTA is a demo, having them click on a personalized landing page that Jasper created specifically for this person and their company. So by reading third-party data about the contact and about their company, Jasper writes a landing page talking about some of the content it could write in that company. And so the email outreach entices them to click on the landing page to see what's there and request a demo. And so we did a lot of A/B testing, ultimately rolling out this at 8,000 emails over time, touches, but we saw 0 in the control actually get into opportunity stage. And we have 7 opportunities now in sales pipeline from the B content, which is sending out this custom landing page. So it's also 17x click-through rate in emails. But when you think about the control was 0 from a revenue perspective to having 7 opportunities, it's just really impactful and something that I think we're really testing out and showing that can be done at scale.
That's great. All right, Linda, I'd love to hear your thoughts next.
Yeah, so maybe a little context about Common Room, because I'll share some use cases that have worked for us on the AI front, but I'd love to also talk about our customers. So, we're a platform, a customer intelligence platform that helps organizations capture every single buyer signal. And then we give go-to-market teams, so demand gen, sales, SDR, CS teams, superpowers with AI enrichment and automation to reach the right person with the right context at the right time. And so a lot of the themes that Jessica just touched upon, things like, efficiency, right? Reducing manual efforts and also personalization are very near and dear to the value prop of, our platform. We serve, companies of all stages, early stage startups to some of the fastest hypergrowth companies in the world: OpenAI, MongoDB, Atlassian, Grammarly, Airtable, Notion, Figma. So lots of kind of your usual suspects. But what we're seeing right now across the vast majority of our customers is that there's like a deep curiosity, interest, and desire to adopt and make the most out of AI. But there's also like a fair amount of confusion about where to get started and how to realize the incredible hard ROI that, Jessica is driving at Jasper. It's like questions like, hey, should I rip out my entire, SDR demand gen team in favor of like an autonomous bot? Right, most are now saying, probably not.
No,
right. Like whether you're an early stage startup with a limited TAM where you're just starting to build your brand, or you're a scaled company like Jasper, or you're a multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation where customer trust is your biggest asset. Like, I think the run state or the future nirvana full automation just isn't necessarily a reality yet. And so what we are seeing is massive hard ROI improvements around productivity gains that are historically manual tasks. And we actually see this in 3 core areas, and Jessica actually touched on one of them. So it's account prioritization, account research, and then personalized engagement. So prioritization, research, and personalization. Maybe I'll go kind of a little bit into each of these, and then I can share some stats around, the efficiency gains and outputs that our customers have realized. So creating lead lists that previously required hours of manual research, right? Mm-hmm. Prioritizing across hundreds of accounts. Which ones should I, as a rep, focus on today? Well, an AI agent, Rumi AI, which is our agent, but there's lots out there, can search the internet and return all the accounts that are, for example, hiring for jobs that mention your technology's name, or even, specific ICP that you care about, right? Titles. I think within, that kind of prioritization and research component, getting down to the contact level within an account. So traditional ABM intent tools can only do as good as, somebody somewhere searched your company's name. And we're finding that for sellers today, that's simply not useful. And so that's where, great AI can really make a difference. We call that unified identity and account intelligence. So from the Common Room side, from a technology perspective, we leverage tech around avatar mapping, semantic parsing. AI is really good at fuzzy matching, right? And that's working constantly in the background to enrich and aggregate all of these buyer activities into a single profile. Who's liking your latest post on LinkedIn about your newest and greatest feature? Who's signing up for a free trial with their Gmail account, right? What is going on within an account? Who's hitting your pricing page? Are they an executive buyer persona? That all comes back down to explicit buyer engagement signals and then identity. And so we're seeing 30 to 50% higher match rates on identity when we leverage our AI-powered enrichment waterfall. On the research side, we also have an AI agent called Rumi AI. And effectively, reps can use it to ask anything about an account, right? What are their main product lines? Who are their biggest competitors? Go and read the 10K and summarize, their biggest strategic initiatives right now. And frankly, historically, all of that research was done incredibly manually by reps, which actually means that they didn't do the research at all, right? How many sales and revenue leaders out there know that, if your reps only all researched the 10Ks before they did a customer call, they would have a better, more informed, more consultative engagement? Well, the reality is it's hard for reps to fit that in a day. And so using something like an AI agent, we're actually seeing 30% decrease in research time, which simply means that more research is happening. On the personalized and engaged side, I think one of the biggest learnings we've had is Gen AI is only as good as the data inputs. And so once you have that buyer engagement, right? Hey, who's coming to my website? What are they doing in my product? How are they engaging with my brands in the digital world? And then you have that identity information. Well, you can generate using, LLMs, incredibly personalized and specific messages and automate them at scale. Like, hey, I saw that you recently liked, our LinkedIn post about signal-based selling, and you just joined a new company in a sales leadership role, and somebody on your team just fired up a free trial of our product, like would love to get on a call and share more. And what's incredible about these personalized snippets is they are going to be unique for every single individual, right? So you can personalize on a really, really deep level. And so we are seeing incredible conversion rates to meetings, 20 to 25% for some of these signal-based plays, which is 5x the industry average. And then in terms of like hard ROI metrics, which, we're very focused on generating for our customers in kind of this ambiguous world of AI. I'll share that, our customer Notion, as an example, uses AI and customer intelligence to generate 30% more meetings per rep per month within just a quarter, right? And so seeing those real productivity gains, seeing those real results is what's getting us super excited about the potential for AI and go-to-market.
Now, I can totally see it coming from, especially because I'm in sales. So as far as researching all of that, it has saved so much time in my outreach. I do know that I'm such a personal kind of girl where I'm like, how many emails are now going to start with, hey, I noticed you in these kind of signal buying, like how is this going to change the brain of the buyer? Because they're going to start seeing a lot of it's just going to evolve. It's very
totally
interesting.
Those are all
right?
unknowns right now. It's
right.
Definitely evolving quickly, and you're calling out some very real things that I think about as well.
Yeah. Okay, Pallavi, go ahead. You're up next.
Alrighty. Well, I think what Jessica and Linda have said captures a lot of amazing ways that technology and AI can help businesses. I'm coming at it from a different angle because I've been in-house most of my career as a global marketing executive for large brands, and I've also worked at startups. And one thing I can tell you from when you're in-house is the bottleneck often is a lot of the internal processes and actually adoption of these technologies. These tools are mind-blowing. Even before AI, many of these tools are just mind-blowing, but it's really getting the adoption and the training and the processes in-house that really, in my opinion, is sometimes the biggest challenge. So what I am doing right now with Omni AI Marketing is really becoming a student again. So I've been so fascinated by what's happening with generative AI in particular that I thought, you know what, I'm going to become a student again, and I'm just going to learn, and I'm going to take these learning and work to help other businesses. So what I personally did is I had left my corporate job, and I was like, okay, I really think it's time for me to do something on my own. And I used AI to build my business in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I did a marketing strategy, like a legit marketing strategy, a brand plan, a product messaging platform, all the content for my website. I generated about 15 blogs that are about, I'd say, 85% there, right? I think that's important for people to understand that AI is not some magic wand. You need the human, right? Sometimes in front of it and then behind it. But if it can get you 85% there, my God, that's much further than I've been able to get with working with certain, writers sometimes. And so what I have seen is that basically things that took us months is taking us weeks, and what took weeks is taking us days, and what took us days is, so on and so forth. And the time savings is what I would say is like the most mind-blowing use case of AI. And so, for me, if I could do this for my business, and, by the way, I launched my business in 3 weeks, I had clients in 3 weeks. And so I'm a woman of color, it's obvious. I thought, wow, if I could help other entrepreneurs, especially women and people of color, although, I use the word inclusivity because I love to make sure we're working with all types of people. I think this could be such an amazing game changer for entrepreneurialism, because I live in Silicon Valley, and what we see here is, right, 2% of funding goes to women. And I know we're going to get into this later. 0.27% goes to women of color. We don't exist. And so AI, I feel, is just going to be a really big game changer if people are able to harness these technologies and these that Jessica and Linda are talking about. You suddenly don't have the same level of hurdles to bring a great idea to market. So what I'm doing with Omni is basically becoming the expert on these amazing technologies and using AI, and then working in-house to help a lot of the companies that, frankly, they're scrambling. They're still trying to do their day job. They don't have the ability to understand what these tools can do, and how AI can be implemented. And so that's kind of the take that I'm bringing to the table. In terms of a successful use case, I want to actually point out what I'm seeing happening on LinkedIn with a lot of the solopreneurs or creators. I'm a big brand marketer, and what I see these people doing is just blowing me away with what they're doing with AI. Like the level of content that they're able to produce and the amount of information and value they are giving out for free, it's really incredible. And I see the kind of principles I learned at large companies in branding, they're putting them into play and executing beautifully. So I think that's just, one use case I want to mention is we're going to see a very different business landscape than we've seen previously, thanks to AI. And hopefully we're going to see a lot more diversity and inclusion as well. So that's something I want to put out there.
Yeah. So you all really mentioned some specific hurdles that you feel either yourself or clients are facing with the adoption of AI. What is the advice that you give, especially the people that are on the summit today? What is some advice that you would give to them?
Could I just start with that one? I would say, don't go at it alone. Don't do it. It's honestly, I'm not saying that because I have a vested interest to say, oh, hire people like me, but it's a lot. It's really a lot of information, and figuring out which companies, have an AI first approach, such as the ones here today, versus the ones that are putting a wrapper on it, where you use it and you clearly just wasted time by using AI because it doesn't work, because they didn't think it through and they slapped AI on it. Don't go at it alone. There's a lot of people, resources out there that can help you leapfrog. And so if you're going to try to do your day job and then learn all about all of this insanely paced innovation yourself, you're going to fall behind. So I wouldn't recommend going at it alone, and become a student again. That's like the most fun part for me.
Yeah, I'm piggybacking on that. I think that's a good reason to not go it alone. Surround yourself with other AI enthusiasts, I call them, in your company. Get a group of people together, whether you call it an AI council, a marketing AI council, a go-to-market AI council or not. You need something specific for your department, but then you can learn and get excited about things together. And I feel like when you're working in a silo, it's really easy to get bogged down, but when you get energy from other people, you keep each other going. And then you can get to your company's AI usage guidelines, get out AI literacy, which I continue to see as a big gap and a big hurdle to getting companies to realize value and drive utilization within the organization. It usually, when companies are stuck, comes back to AI literacy and documenting your use cases. So those are the two things that I think you really have to focus on, aside from getting this group of people starting together. But that AI literacy also means you're educating your teams, but you're also providing them guardrails and understanding of what to do and what not to do. But documenting use cases, I feel like we're not there yet as a an industry, right? Last year, it was very like get in, play, experiment, and you should still do that. But to really have those high impact use cases that your company is going to care about when they're bringing on an additional expense, starting with 2 ways, saying, okay, what are our overall business priorities? Getting to your KPIs, and then continuing to peel back maybe where there are areas for optimization, or starting with like a just huge use case brainstorm and then mapping that out to impact and effort, and then making sure that that maps up to your KPIs. And that's like the other way to prioritize it from there. But documenting the status quo of what those use cases take today, people, process, time, cost, so that you have it grounded in what was the result pre-AI, so that you know what success looks like on the back end, right? So your success hypothesis, as well as, your testing 30, 60, 90, you already have it documented to go back. So many organizations are still right now saying, we're trying to figure out the ROI. And then when you say, what are your use cases? Where's the documentation? They don't have it. So it's just such a huge step that cannot be overstated enough right now. And that hand in hand with AI literacy and making sure your people are inspired and motivated and understand what it is and what to do with it will help kind of then spearhead the creativity that you really need to find those use cases from there.
Yeah, we resonate with, Jessica, your philosophy very strongly. There's so much conflicting advice out there, right? There's tops down mandates to like, go implement AI, go leapfrog the competition. And at the end of the day, AI has to be a means to an end, not the end itself. And, we always say like, even though we're an AI revenue platform, we're building AI that meets our customers where they are today, right? What is that North Star goal? What are those use cases? Okay, great. Like, how can we use AI to get you there faster, not, rip out your entire sales team or whatever. And so I'll share a couple of interesting proof points here. Like I just spoke with an SDR leader at a $30 billion publicly traded company. And there was a tops down mandate to go and implement AI for SDRs. They ran a really, really small test with a segment of their market that is like mostly unmanaged. It's not as strategic, not as high priority. And they got 0 responses back. Right. And so imagine if they had kind of blindly jumped into that and, ripped out their entire system. And so, I think there's a real risk right now of folks kind of adopting some of these early solutions and being burned by it and saying, oh, I'm turned off by AI now. Like AI doesn't work. Right. It's snake oil. It's vaporware. It's not real. So what we're seeing is like, there's a little bit of that. And so, a lot of customers come to us, asking us like, hey, what's the real deal? We try to, obviously give them a balanced perspective. And then I also noticed that the needs around AI really differ depending on what size or maturity your organization is in. And that nuance is also mostly lost in the public discourse. So, we have customers from early stage to scaled. And if you're an early stage company, you might actually want to use AI to fully autonomously, automate some of the workflows and the demand gen activities because you simply have a really small team. And I think, Pallavi, that's what you're saying about the creators and kind of, lowering the barrier to access for small teams to build go-to-market motions. And that's been incredible in terms of leveling the playing field. But we're also seeing, more scaled and established or hyper growth customers like the Airtables and Grafana's of the world turning to AI to really augment their team as a co-pilot, right? To give them the superpowers to generate that new business or, to reach out to customers faster, to grow faster. And then what we're seeing with the large organizations like the AWSs and Intels of the world is that they have so much data. They have so much demand. They have so much data on their customers, their prospects, that they're actually looking to AI to tell them what's going on inside their own organization and their own business to see what low-hanging fruit can be optimized, to see what processes and what visibility can be, improved. And so, like, the concept of AI as a blanket statement for everyone is simply not true, right? I think everyone said it here. Find a community, find people that, are in the same function as you, going through the same challenges at similar sort of maturity levels as your business, anchor on those use cases. And I think that's how we will all kind of find the meat within all the noise.
I love that. Okay, I want to shift a little bit. And you all spoke a little bit already about this, and let's be real, okay? So I looked up these stats. I told you I'm part of the STEM leadership team, and I think it's something crazy. Like 30% of jobs are held by women in AI, so only 30% there. But then only 14%, I believe, are women in leadership in technology globally. So I have a lot of conversations around this. What opportunities do you see women for, well, what opportunities do you see for women to lead and innovate specifically for this AI industry? So I know I have some ideas.
I have a very strong opinion about this. I think that we need to see women in the key leadership positions. We need women as the CEOs, and we need the types of women who are going to make real change happen for other women. Not the kind of women that are there and they got their piece of the pie and now they're protective, of what they've earned. We need women that understand that we have to, I'm a mother. I'm doing what I do now for the next generation. And I'd like to see them be able to go into a world where if they take a pitch to a VC, they get the equal opportunity that, other men get. And that's not happening right now. And I feel like AI is going to be one way for women to become entrepreneurs at larger clip. And I'm really looking forward to that happening. I'm so excited at the people that are on this panel today because they're women in these leadership roles. And so the more we can see that, the more we're going to see actual change happen. I have spoken to a number of women in leadership roles in existing organizations in AI, and it's pretty grim. A lot of them are facing the same challenges that many women do in technology fields and beyond. So I think what Linda was talking about is surrounding yourself with supportive people that are going to help you grow in the right direction is so important. And that's where it becomes really critical for women to self-advocate and find those people. But at the same time, the systems have got to change. It can't always be on the burden of the person. So that's my strong opinion about it.
I love it.
Yeah, and I feel like as we've talked about here a little bit, but haven't said, right, AI can be the great equalizer here. And I love the boom in entrepreneurship, right? And just how that can surround. And I think that I'm hoping that the things that have held women back, not asking for the job, right? Or the salary negotiations, like all those little things, like I hope that AI can be like that gap filler for us to be more bold and maybe, bring AI into those conversations ourselves to give us the confidence too. But then at the flip side, hoping that AI that is empathetic and collaborative and, promotes fairness is then what we need. And hopefully the opposite gender, can get more of that too. And I think that's why it's so important to have women in these leadership positions. Like, wouldn't it be amazing to see a woman at the helm of a major frontier model? And, as we're all needing to educate on bias in AI systems and knowing that all of that is just systemic as well, like we need to make sure that we have women in those circles in all levels, right? To just really make sure that the systems are being trained from an equal perspective as well.
Yeah, I'll add on, I totally agree that the problems around gender and diversity within AI and within broader tech is probably one and the same. But yeah, I think on a, micro level, and I can speak only personally, I try to surround myself with incredible women I look up to. 50% of my board is, women leaders, including Sarah Guo at Conviction, who's an incredible, AI thought leader, and Amanda Clea, who's Chief Customer Officer at Figma. I try to always, in the micro, when I see folks on my team who can use some coaching around, some of those self-advocacy type things you talk about, Jessica, I actually try to point that out to them. But in the macro, I think, yes, like definitely need more representation. And also, like, I just love seeing women succeeding and winning, right? I think the more women who are in those positions who, do drive incredible outcomes, build incredible things, create incredible businesses, the more that we can change kind of the perception and the conversation. And that's not going to be an overnight thing, right? I think what excites me is it does seem like the new generation, that discourse is really not fading away, right? It's a constant discourse, and all the talk around AI and equality and bias, that's not going to go away either. And so it's just incredible that that conversation is very top of mind for everybody.
Everything you guys are saying, I'm just sitting here like, yes, we need to have more of these conversations, right? And that's why I feel so inspired by all three of you. And I'm so grateful to be having this conversation. So I appreciate you so much. Let's jump into talking a little bit about the future. So getting back to revenue, and I know, Linda, we talked a little bit about this, my brain's always going to the future. Like, how are buyers going to start responding to, like, I don't want to call it like a cheat or any, like, I don't want to call it, but almost this like new template for sales outreach, which is AI, because of the reps or the research being very consistent or seeming like it's the same. So how are we going to break through that clutter? And I know your tech, I mean, it just seems really amazing at what you're doing. But so I guess that was one question, is how do you envision AI evolving in the revenue landscape? And if you have any specific things that you want to talk about, go ahead and feel free.
Yeah, I think maybe Gartner has a stat that 90% of the buyer journey today is, effectively happening in self-research and free trials, and, everyone's digitally literate. They don't necessarily want to talk to a sales rep anymore. And so I think, ultimately what we're seeing is that organizations want their reps and their SDRs to actually move from top of the funnel, right, deeper into the funnel, where they can have those consultative conversations, the real human to human relationship building that ultimately every single sale is predicated upon. But what we're seeing with AI is that it can actually reach deeper into the dark funnel, right? Deeper into the early stages of when someone might be doing that research. And if the message is right, and ultimately if it's contextualized, you can actually kind of bring people from early stages of research to the table to have that more consultative conversation. And so what we are seeing is that it's really about kind of, I guess, reducing or replacing some of the human efforts at the very, very top of the funnel, putting those very precious human efforts on relationship building deeper in the funnel. And I think your point around, hey, is this just going to be another, channel like marketing? We've seen years and years of, saturation, and then something new happens and then it gets saturated. That's very possible. I think it remains to be seen. But what we're generally seeing with early data is that people don't mind if it's like AI generated or not. They actually just want to make sure that you are reaching them with context. They appreciate that, right? It's actually very customer centric. I'll give you a very tactical example. One of the best converting plays across our customer base, bar none, is when an executive buyer hits your pricing page, right? So an EB with purchase power, director level plus, they hit your pricing page. Well, we automate messages that reach out at that point saying, hey, notice you're checking out our pricing page, maybe some other, tidbits of context. Would love to get on a call and walk you through that. And again, it's converting at like 20 to 25% to meeting conversion rates. And then it converts to a stage 2 at 50%, which are incredible numbers from a funnel perspective. I don't know if those folks know it's AI, right? It's coming from the rep, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, they have a problem, right? They're looking at your pricing page. Pricing pages are all very confusing, and you're reaching out with a consultative offer. And so it's kind of a win-win, right? And I think finding those win-win moments is what it's all about, anchoring on customer centricity and that customer experience. And yeah, there's many cases where people do have a problem. They may not be explicitly raising their hand, but meeting them right at that moment with incredible speed to lead and all of that is actually the most customer-centric thing, and they'll respond well to it.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on that, I think that AI avatars, once we have some work to do on them, and right now most of us interact with chatbots, and we're like, just get me a human because I can't deal. But as those technologies evolve, and then you get an AI avatar, I think exactly kind of what Linda's pointing out is, imagine being able to go onto a website and you have this avatar, and you can ask it the specific questions that you want answers to, and it will answer them for you because it has access to a ton of information from within the organization. In sales, the issue, this concept of being able to send this email right when someone's looking at your pricing page, it's about time, because the longer the time passes, the more distracted a person is going to get and the less they're likely going to buy for you. But if they land on your page and get the information that they need right when they need it, that can be a game changer, for example, for businesses. And I think with AI, people are going to increasingly, they're going to crave a human connection. So I think AI avatars are going to go up. I think you're going to see returns of like mascot concepts. You're going to see this need for CEOs to be more available and present because there's this proliferation. There already is just content. And so how do you connect with humans? You're going to basically connect by another human or a version of a human. So I see that being a big trajectory in the future. There's still work to do, but I think that's going to be a big difference.
Yeah. And I think I love what you guys said too, because I think I don't care if the email, I get sales emails all day long, right? I don't care if the email is written by an AI or not. I'm going to respond if it's something that was timely and something that I feel like I need, right? And so I'm notorious for sharing screenshots of emails with our BDR team when I actually do respond to something, which is rare, right? Just to be like, this was the email, right? And sometimes they're so specific and like, for some reason, something is on the internet about me being a big Cleveland sports fan, because those are the ones that I usually get that also get me to respond. And I even asked this last person, I was like, did you use AI to do this, or did you do it yourself? And he said that he did it himself. And so it gets me thinking what we've talked about already in terms of time savings for sales, right? So much time is spent in the account research stage that with AI, no matter what platform you're in, certainly we have automated flows in Jasper too, that can combine all of that research in one step. Your 10K reports, the website, right? Earnings transcripts, LinkedIn profiles, all of the stuff. And then Linda's amazing intent data too, right? Is awesome with that. But like to compress all of that to now be able to yourself write or take an outreach, right? That is more human generated. Two examples that come to mind too. iHeartMedia has Jasper API'd into Salesforce for them, which runs an automation when you check a box to scrape third-party data and then write the email. But they're using it for a cohort of contacts that would normally go untouched. So now the salespeople are actually getting to contacts they wouldn't have otherwise paid attention to, and they're still focusing on their top tier accounts, themselves as a human. But I also think when we talk about the renaissance of in-person human touch, like we think about events and trade shows, right? And how those can be such a boom for sales. Well, it's hard to take a salesperson out of the office to stand all day at a booth or network at an event, right? But maybe if we've reduced all of their non-revenue generating activity with account research and all of that kind of stuff, now they can more freely maybe have time to create those in-person human connections that then, as we all know, accelerate the pipeline, so much faster down the way too.
Oh, I have to jump in on that because Jessica, what you said, that in my mind is like the holy grail of what AI should be. It should free up humans from doing all the menial stuff that we've somehow gotten sucked into doing so we can do kind of the high value human stuff. What I'm worrying about right now in this phase is everybody's getting sucked back into going, well, AI can make it go faster, so let's just do more of that versus really stopping and going, wait a second, let's decouple this and give the menial stuff to AI and let humans do what they're really good at, which is connecting with other humans usually, or researching or going deep into things without having to be interrupted constantly, whatever that may be. So I hope we can make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of emphasis on time savings too. But we have a client example that spends the same 8 hours of time on a research project, but they spend more time analyzing, right? Instead of half the time reading it. Now they're spending the more time analyzing and creating insights. It's the same amount of time, but their quality of work goes up because they're spending more time in the things that we should be spending on, right? So to that end as well, or thinking about what are things that you've always wanted to do but never could do because you never had time to do it, right? Whether that's something human or whether it's finally creating vertical content for your business, right? It's like what other things can we optimize or automate to give you that? Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, today a sales team on average spends over 70% of their week on non-selling activities. Like
Right?
literally data cobbling, looking at 18 different tools, trying to like piece together, a view of who they should go and prioritize building a human relationship with on any given day. So both of what you are saying really rings true for us too.
See, and that's what lights me up is this whole coming back to human connection and like how AI helps with that. I think I mentioned this, but I'm a yoga teacher, right? So I think about how can AI help employee burnout? Especially sales reps, especially marketing leaders, right? Like burnout culture is a thing. How can we develop more, community outreach programs for our organization so that they're getting more with giving back, right? And that will help with employee well-being. So I think about it from this perspective of, yes, it's helping with productivity so much. And how can it help employee overall well-being and help when you have happy employees, you have more revenue. So I try to think about it from that perspective. So everything that you guys are saying just really resonates. Okay, we have about 6 more minutes or so. I'd love for each of you, if you have any final thought, piece of advice for the audience regarding AI and revenue, any other final thoughts?
Maybe I'll share what I'm like most excited about that may be less obvious. I think there's really obvious areas to be excited about, right? Copywriting, emails, blog posts, AI for, go to market and reducing manual toil and increasing the productivity of every single, information worker in the world. I think those areas are going to happen and I'm super excited about it. But I think one area that's very promising is surfacing up the unknowns. So for example, like if AI can help me find an account that's not on my radar because, for example, they just made a strategic hire to expand outside of the US and into Europe. And I'm a company like Deal whose, business depends on remote hires. Like that's a really useful insight that I would not be privy to without AI. And so where are areas where AI is actually going to show us what we don't know? And I think when we get there, that's when things start to get really exciting.
Yeah, that kind of ties in with what I was thinking, where I was thinking of taking this to, in terms of the near future. Everyone's talking about agents right now, right? What does that look like? I think there's a really interesting tension between scale and oversight that we have to talk about, and organizations should be talking about. But right now, it's human, AI, human, right? Like we're prompting the AI for information to get back to us. And I think where we're going with it is AI human. So the AI is actually giving you new information, just like you're talking about, Linda, maybe information about a new target market that you didn't know that your business should go after. Maybe new information about a drop in website traffic, plus 4 strategies, things that you could do, plus it wrote all of the drafts for you to do it. And then you decide, right, what you want to take. But where AI is actually making suggestions and recommendations to you based on the data it has access to and the things that it knows about your strategy and your company. So I think that's what I'm really excited about. I feel like it's near future. I know it's not, life changing probably, but I think that people need to get ready for that type of thing. And I think what we talk about is, how do you get ready for the next big model drop or the next, big innovation? It's really understanding what your processes are today, because even the steps that we're still seeing is this, what are, documenting the processes that you have today. When new tech comes out, you're just ready to go, ready to integrate. And then I think where we want to get to, and where I think people will succeed the most with AI is in creativity, right? So people who are going to come up with the best use cases. And it's this idea of, I have a client who said this, and I just love this line, that we're not just integrating AI into the existing workflows we have today, we're discovering AI's capabilities to define entirely new ones. So what brand new things can you do that you've never done before? And even the ABM use case I shared at the top is humanly impossible, to do in that amount of time. So I think those are some of the really exciting things that we're going to get into, and we have to balance out the risk and the oversight with, I think the opportunistic sides of it as well.
So, so I think for me, I look at AI and the impact that AI has had. It's, been likened to fire, right? It's like a massive discovery for humankind. And, we're all in similar kind of tech and business space. So obviously we want to use it to increase productivity and, things that are very business focused. But the conversations I'm having make me feel like our system is quite broken. And if we only use AI as another tool for productivity, it's going to be a massive underutilization of what this technology is really there for. And this goes back to where the management teams, I think Accenture is just, they pushed out a training for 35,000 employees in AI. So there's a lot of focus that has to go in terms of training and adoption and the right tools within organizations. So it kind of behooves the management teams to kind of stop a little bit and go, what can we do with this amazing technology that goes beyond just increasing productivity so the same people at the top can make more money? We've got to really have a sea change. So we change systems that are more friendly to women, friendly to mothers, friendly to families, et cetera, and AI can definitely be at the center of that, where we can inspire amazing amounts of innovation. We can make money, but we can also do it without, damaging our health and well-being. And so going back to your, kind of comment about yoga, I think this very human aspect has got to be at the center of the conversation around AI.
And that's why we have all of us female leaders having these conversations. I really
and
truly
we're humans,
and we're humans, and I mean it is just this heart opening type, like, how can we do bigger, better for this world with using this technology and using it for connection and deeper connections, not to get too far away from revenue generation and everything else, but at the end of the day, we all are human and we can just use it to help our own lives. So thanks again. Thank you, Jessica, Linda, Pallavi. I appreciate you three so much. It was just been a blast. And I know you've inspired me. I know you inspired everybody else on the summit. So thank you, everybody who joined today. Feel free to connect with these amazing women on LinkedIn after to continue the conversation, and enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.